Let's move on to main topic number 2, shall we? And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by the one and only, I love that username, who writes, "Hey, John and Rob. Hope everything is well." Everything is well. Thank you so much for that. So, Forbes' Twitter account just posted an article about Emilia Clarke selling a fancy house, but they casually wrote the following. She also signed on to replace Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2. How reliable is this coming from Forbes, as no other source is mentioned? Your thoughts on Emilia as Mera. Live long and prosper. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, now every once in a while, I'll be sitting there and I'll have my phone with me and, my notifications go off. But every once in a while, like you hear, every few minutes, bing, a couple of minutes later, bing. But then when something's going on, you start to hear bing, bang, 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 bang. I'm like, what's going on? And I started to get a bunch of messages from people last night talking about this article in Forbes saying that Emilia Clarke has replaced Amber Heard as Mera in the upcoming Aquaman 2. This is what is in Forbes. They write, her Badass Thrones role catapulted her to A-list status, leading to another physically demanding film roles as young Sarah Connor in Terminator Genesis, which we all try to forget, and Kira in Solo, a Star Wars story, which I actually kind of liked her in that. She also signed on to replace Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2. Daenerys, Kira, Mera, even her full name, Emilia Isabel Euphemia Rose Clarke, is a chore. All right, so that comes to us from Forbes. And if you're saying, wait, what? Emilia Clarke has replaced Amber Heard. Okay, so yeah, it is written in Forbes. However, while there are more websites, like several websites now running with this as a story, that there are things that Emilia Clarke is replacing Amber Heard, and they're quoting that Forbes article, there's a couple of things you need to know about this Forbes article. First of all, there's 3 things in particular, guys. 3 points I want to make in general. Number 1, if Emilia Clarke was replacing Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2, it would not be hidden in an article titled, Game of Thrones actress Emilia Clarke sells Venice, California home for $4.4 million. That's not your headline. That is not your headline. And Rob, you and I have talked about on several different occasions some apparent big piece of news. You remember, we've done this at least twice, that dropped in a Variety article or something that was like buried in paragraph 8 in some throwaway line. And everybody's like, oh my God, did you see that Variety wrote that? But you realize, listen, that was just an oversight by somebody doing something. And so we look at this as if Emilia Clarke was replacing Amber Heard, that is a headline story that is not buried in an article called Game of Thrones actress Emilia Clarke sells house. It's not buried in there. So that's thing number 1. Point number 2 is this. The writer of the article, Keith Flammer, who I don't know. Handsome dude, though. Gotta say, handsome looking dude. But when I did a little bit more looking into Keith, his primary writing for Forbes is not covering movie news. When you go into his profile on Forbes, he primarily is writing about real estate transactions. That's what he writes about. He doesn't actually know the movie industry. He writes about real estate transactions. And I'm sure he's very good at it. I'm sure he's great at it. The third thing, and probably the most important key thing about this, is there were some people running around. Did you see Forbes said this? Yeah, but here's the problem. They're just catching on to something as I scroll up here. Something that was written on December 31st, 2 months ago. So all of that is basically to say this. Is it possible, is it even remotely possible that Emilia Clarke has been hired to replace Amber Heard as Mera in Aquaman 2? It's possible. Sure. I'm not going to sit here and say it's impossible. It is. I mean, with all the drama surrounding Amber Heard, we know studios are trying to separate themselves from as much drama as possible and all that kind of stuff. It's possible. However, this was an article written 2 months ago by somebody who doesn't actually cover the entertainment industry. And it was a throwaway line in paragraph 9. I'm sure if this was legitimate, a Hollywood Reporter, a Variety, the Wrap, Entertainment Weekly, somebody else would have picked up on this thing by Forbes and ran with this story forever ago. Also, I'm sure if they were just replacing Amber Heard, Zack Snyder wouldn't have hired her to come in to help shoot reshoots and featured Amber Heard in the Justice League Snyder Cut trailer.
Yeah.
So you got to understand, over at Warner Brothers, Zack Snyder is in Amber Heard's corner. Walter Hamada is in Amber Heard's corner. The company seems to be in her corner. And I'm not arguing that they should be in her corner. I'm not talking about the shoulds or shouldn'ts of it. But the reality is Snyder, Hamada, and Hamada and the rest of the company are behind her and in her corner. So I think it is extremely unlikely, Rob, when you look at all the facts that lay out here, this is extremely, I can understand why somebody sees something like that on Twitter and piques their interest. But when you stop and look at it, it was a throwaway paragraph by somebody who doesn't cover the entertainment industry, and it was written months ago. And then you look at the other stuff behind that. So possible. Yeah, I suppose it's as possible as anything. It's as possible as Jamie Foxx coming back to play Electro. So sure, but likely it's. I think this is something we could ignore. I don't know, Rob, you heard about this. And I guess, number one, theoretically, Rob, what would you think of an Emilia Clarke as Mara? But number two, what do you think the chances are that there's any legitimacy to this?
Well, I think she could be Mara. I don't. No, I like Emilia Clarke a great deal, but she's kind of got that. When she's not playing Daenerys Targaryen, she seems so nice. I don't know if I could see her as the Queen of Atlantis or the upcoming Queen of whatever, the hard. I don't know, maybe, but I mean, I like her, so I wouldn't object to that casting. But I don't necessarily, like you said, this is headline news. This is something her people would want spread around, and I don't believe it. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I mean, if it's happened, it's already happened. It would have been something that, as they move into pre-production on Aquaman 2, everybody would know. But I just don't see it happening, especially because she was brought back to do Snyder Cut reshoots. So if Warner Brothers didn't want anything to do with her, or the studio had a problem, that would have happened already.
I agree. Question is, guys, what do you think? I mean, I think it's fairly clear that there's nothing to see here. And again, the only reason I bring it up is because my phone started blowing up with people asking about this. So I think it's pretty obvious there's nothing to see here. But I don't know. I mean, we live in a world where Jamie Foxx is Electro. So, I mean, pretty much anything goes. What do you guys think about this whole thing? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.